and sit down. Shut up and sit down.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Build Paint Play. Everything was going so well.
We almost made it through the intro.
Almost made it through the intro. We can, yep. Let's go home. We'll come back next week and try it again.
We'll try it next time.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Build Paint Play. My name is Dave, and this is.
I'm Jake, or a lot of people know me as Oz. Either one of them is fine, but it is great to be here.
It is, and hopefully we can hear you completely. Can we hear you just fine?
I don't know. I can hear you okay?
Yep. Okay. Just quickly then, we're going to check, because we're on episode 7, yet we're still...
I can hear you okay?
We're still super fearful of the wonderful technical issues that we've been having. So we've got Dave Hummel and Scott are watching the show. Dave,
That too bright?
That's too bright.
Okay.
It's crazy bright. What have you done? Just like brought the sun completely in?
No, I have like an LED light, which I thought would be helpful. How's that? Is that better?
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
That's good.
That's delightful. That's
sweet. Good. I thought it looked a little off when I was like, oh, that's weird.
Yep.
Yeah, that's way better. All right.
Yep. So much nicer. We are not choppy like we have been for the last 2 weeks. And Dave Hummel says 5x5 on mobile YouTube. So that's a good start. Hooray!
Sweet.
Jeff is here. Jeff, you can also let us know if everything sounds much better this week. Well, obviously I sound the same, so I'm not going to improve. But if...
Yeah, I mean, I'll take your word for it.
Awesome. So, yes, it is... Jeff says, sounds great. Fantastic.
Okay, good.
So we'll just let everybody know that... so last night... Jake and I sat down to do some test streams, unlisted test streams, to check the choppiness of the video and also check the audio issues. And we went through and we did things that people had suggested we should do, and it didn't work.
Yeah, that didn't really seem to do anything.
Work. So by 11:45, we went. Frustrating. Jake suggested that we were both intelligent young men who could work this stuff out. But
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I was like, how hard can it be? Like,
apparently hard enough.
yeah,
Just hard enough.
Oh, so speaking of which, what was the issue?
What was the issue? So it looks like the video issue was the. So initially we thought it was the bit rate, so we upped the bit rate for last week's show, but I did not up the buffer bit rate, which caused part of the problem. Part of the problem was probably also caused because I was using a window capture, so just capturing the Discord window rather than capturing the display, so my computer's display. So there's a different level of work that needs to be done by the computer. And also, apparently, OBS was automatically recording each of the shows. So basically, it was trying to stream and try to record at the same time. So now I just have to make sure that I don't record the show. Just let YouTube do that. So,
well, that's good. It sounds like there was a bunch of like weird thing. Like, and again, I think the weirdest thing is the fact that, like you had said, episode 1, 2, and 3 and 4, when you were away, we didn't have any problems, and then we didn't do anything. Like the gremlins that live in your computer decided to like reset all the settings, and then we had problems. It's so weird. Like
it is.
Whatever.
It is totally bizarre. The audio issue was because my MacBook Pro does not like giving up its desktop audio to just anybody.
Wow. Okay.
You have to go in and you've got to download a widget and you've got to go through this 4-step process. So much so, like, obviously a lot of people have an issue with it. There's a guy who has a 7-minute video about it on YouTube, amusing enough, that's had 51,000 views. So that's all folks like us trying to find the solution.
So Dave, Jeff, and Scott, like, is there like a weird fan sound that you hear, or is that gone as well? Because Dave and I tried shutting off fans and stuff too to see if that made a difference. I'm curious to see if there is a change. Because I don't hear it now, but when I go back and watch the videos, I almost always hear it.
Right. Well,
I'm in a new room, so there's like that fan is gone. Like
negative on the mobile. Scott says audio works. Welcome back, Jake. Everyone missed you last week, and collectively the audience is excited to have you back.
Thanks, Scott. That's very sweet. I appreciate that, guys. I missed you guys. I apologize for not being here. I was actually excited about having a guest on, but last week.
Yeah.
Last week.
Yeah.
But my wife and I just moved. So last week things were a little tight, and she was stressed out, and we were trying to like pack, and she was like, "Can you not do your podcast tonight?" And I was like, "Absolutely, if that's going to help us get things done." So we are now in the new place. My den is coming together. It'll be hopefully better next week, but at least I got the computer up and running, and everything seems to be working, and the internet's on. So
yeah, we'll work out some fun stuff to make it more interesting in your background there.
Yeah, for sure. I have some awesome stuff. I have my whole collection over here now. I have like a ton of books up here and all my collectibles and a zillion and graphic novels, but it's getting there.
Yep. We when we were starting it last night, Jake had the lights on in the basement there, and there are 2 lights that are basically sit right behind his head that are like super bright. So
at some point, inevitably, I'm sure that my wife will open the door to come downstairs, and she'll flip the light on, and you'll notice because everything will go. It'll be like I'm on the sun.
Yep, excellent. So just quickly, Tim Felton is joining us.
Nice.
Which is very cool. From joining us from Texas. Dave was asking if you're on Arrakis.
I might as well be. I'm deep in a Fremen village. So
Fremen siege.
I'm deep in a siege.
Yep, fantastic. Just there's no excuses. I'm traveling and in Arizona, and I still turned up.
That's true.
Excellent.
Thank you for that.
Scott says, can't tell. I paint in my basement next to the running washing machine, dryer, and air conditioning. Plus, kids complaining about have to wait for supper. I wish for fan noise.
Can you even hear us, or is this like a silent movie? It's just...
Excellent. But Phil says, I'm kind of liking the cave feel that we've got going on with Jake's lighting, which is excellent.
Yeah, I dig it.
Thanks for that, Phil. Nice.
I dig it.
Okay, well, now that we've talked about the sand, I guess that he does deep in Arizona. But yeah, now that we've got all the technical issue conversation out of the way, next week we'll try and keep it to 5 minutes of technical conversation. So, have you had the opportunity to do any hobby?
Not really. I think the last thing that I built. So like when we talked about the Praetors a couple weeks ago, like I built the Praetor with the claws, and then the following week when I was at work, I built another like I think 8 more tactical marines out of the heresy box.
Okay. Yep.
But I think that's the last like hobbying that I've done. It's been like almost 2 weeks. I think that was like the Monday before I moved. So right. I think Monday or Tuesday. I built like it was basically a week ago. I built like those last 3 or 4.
Okay. So we can forgive you for sure.
Yeah.
You are forgiven.
Thanks, man.
Next week, however.
Oh yeah, that's the plan. That's the plan. Thursday, I'm at the shop all day Thursday, so I'm gonna try to knock out some more stuff out of the box. I really want to build the Sakaran, but I'm like no, I have to get the troops done first. I'm saving myself the tank.
Right. Yep. Nice. That's good. I'm thinking of picking up a Sakaran, but I haven't fully committed to it yet. I don't know which army I'm going to put it in, but we'll get there.
It's so good. Again, like for my list, running Iron Warriors, like they'll all get +1 strength, so that accelerator autocannon just gets way better.
Right. Yep.
So that'll be fun.
That makes sense. That's good. I put aside some stuff that I've been working on.
Oh, dude. Nice.
So super excited about this guy. I threw him up on Instagram yesterday, I think. But yep, my second Marazz with an awesome Gravis melter cannon.
They keep the names too close together because I want to call him the Gal Marazz, and I'm like, wait, that's Sigmar's hammer.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
But like, it's the same word. They just like flipped it backwards.
And took the Z out. Yeah. It's got less zing, obviously. But yeah, so he's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed messing with his spine.
Yeah, he's super cool. That's all the parts from the Talos.
Yeah, there's a bunch of parts, from the Talos. Yeah. So, happen to have one because it's got so many fantastic bits for particularly for Mechanicum. There's lots of little claws and knives that are perfect for.
It's weird how that particular model kit. It feels Drukhari-ish because it's kind of macabre and gross, but then it also has a very Mechanicus feel to it.
Yeah. There's a lot of fantastic things like the those face plates. Really simple to like fill in the there and give it a faceplate that looks just like the Thalax.
Yeah, I like that when they updated the Talos. That's also when they updated like the Drukhari bikers, and they have the same helmet. They have that like smooth like front face helm.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
Those are sick.
Yeah. So I worked on that. I've got up on the rack. I've got a whole bunch of did a whole bunch of base coating essentially with my airbrush. So I've got all my Warpfire Blaster guys. I've got Zardu Lyak and the Blade Slaves.
Yeah, best band ever. Best metal band ever.
And I've got my squad of breaches there with their human shields.
Coming this weekend to the Worcester Central, Sardulac and the Blade Slaves. You'll pay for the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge.
Is that the knife edge?
I'm
Anyway,
assuming.
Yeah. And because everybody needs a dude with an iPad.
Yeah, 100%.
Data slate. So I painted up to apothecaries. Because when it comes to Horus Heresy, apothecaries are where it's at.
Dude, the apothecary, the way that they work, they're just, like, they're so good. The rules of them is nuts, and the fact that you can run what is it, up to 6 of them count as one choice.
Oh, I think it's only 3.
Is it?
I think it is.
I know it's a weird number because it's not like one, like as a Blood Angel player, if I want to take one, he counts as an elite's choice. Like just one is an elite's choice.
Right.
And in this, it's like, oh, you can take a whole bunch of them, and you're like, oh, that's amazing. Why wouldn't I?
I was wrong. It's not 3.
Is it?
I think
Is it 10?
I think it used to be a total of 3. It's 8.
Oh.
So yeah, you can
man.
have 1 Legion Apothecary and up to an additional 7 Legion Apothecaries. That's as your Apothecarian detachment. It doesn't say. I don't think it says you can only take 1 of them. So.
Oh, so you could take 3 of them. You could take 24. I'm just gonna run an army that's 24 apothecaries.
24 Apothecaries. Why not?
That'd be great.
That'd be frightening.
That's insane.
Like 2 Apothecaries in every unit. 4
4
Apothecaries in every 20-man squad.
And then all the apothecaries buff the squad of apothecaries.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic.
Disgusting.
Yep, all good. I've just done 2.
Yeah,
2.
I'm running 3 because I'm putting 1 in each of my squads. But
yeah, I have a feeling that maybe I should do some more. But sorry, I'm just going to say hi to Josh. Josh Potter joined us. Ahoy. Dame Hummel says he's just finishing that Necromundo Palatine stuff now with the subjugators. Josh says, when is IKEA going after GW for trademark infringement for some of these names?
Yeah. I mean, but remember, they're not. It's not a Thalax. It's a Calax. That's the shelf.
Yeah. It's just going to be 15% different, right?
Yeah. Seriously.
Yep. Yeah, Ryan says 8, so talking about the thing. Same for the number of Tech Marines. Hi, Ryan. Thanks for joining us. So you're fine as long as you have 24 units.
Yeah. Solid.
Just making big units. Well, making small units. Lots and lots of small units.
Yeah, I'm gonna run. 8. I think, but you can't though. Everything's limited to 3, right?
Possibly. I don't know.
Except for troops, I think. But
yeah. Oh, you mean the rule of 3? Nah.
Yeah, but I think it's like I think it works like it's basically 6th edition. So 6th edition was if you maxed out a Force Org chart. A Force Org chart was you could do 6 troops, 2 HQ, 6 troops, 3 elites, 3 heavy support, 3 fast attack.
I think it's got more than that. It's different to that. Yeah. It's not completely different to that, but it's a bit different. But yeah. Anyway.
Scott's waiting for Mark 3 and Mark 4 bodies for his Death Guard.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. It will be nice when they get those rolling back out.
I mean, my only issue with them is that the Mark 3 and the Mark 4s that are already out,
yep,
they're the wrong scale. Like
it's not
their first scale.
It's not too bad. It's not too.
No, I mean you can mix them in, and it's not super. It's not like Primaris Marines, but like the Mark 6 Marines are noticeably bigger. And to be fair, like Mark 4, to make Mark 4 and Mark 6 armor almost looks the same, just do a helmet swap.
Right.
Like they're basically the same armor. Like technically they have knee pads, whereas Mark 6, some of it does, some of it doesn't. And I love the way Mark 3 armor looks, but yeah, I'm not gonna drive myself nuts with it. So
on my for my Breacher squads,
so good.
they're all Mark 6 bodies, but I gave them Mark 4 helmets.
Mm-hmm. So they look bigger.
But I actually two of them squad have Tartarus helmets. plastic Tartarus helmets because I basically I opened up the I picked up a sprue and they were like, oh, there's 2 Mark IV helmets on it. Cool. Clip, glue. And then as I was going through and priming them, it was like, these have got like a sharp edge. I think the helmet comes to a sharp edge, and I guess they're not. Nope. Tartarus helmets. So
the Tartarus helmets are sick.
They look just fine. They look all good. But I think, the Mark VI are bigger. They're noticeably bigger at this distance.
Yeah. Yeah, on the table you probably wouldn't notice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the Primaris Marines, like I tried mixing them, I can't. It's like a Space Marine out with his kids. Yeah. Like, so I still have my Blood Angel army that I've run forever, that I've had since probably third edition, and it's all Firstborn. Like I don't mix any Primaris in there because it just looks crazy. And then I have my Flesh Eaters army, which is all Primaris with no Firstborn in it.
Right.
So even though I run like Death Company in that army, I converted them all. I used like Reavers and like Assault Intercessors.
Yeah.
So that everything's scaled the right way.
The right size, yeah.
I love how much more you can like pack into the Primaris Marines. Like there's so much more space for like doing, like I do lots of like squad markings and like, you know, kill strokes and stuff like that. And there's just more space to play with on them.
Yeah.
And the purist in me loves that they're, you know, they're like chest height to like guardsmen.
Right. You mean guardsmen?
Which is the way
you mean guardsmen are chest height to them?
Yeah.
Yep.
Like you're chest deep in guardsmen.
Okay, right. Okay. As you're wading through them.
Yeah.
With your combat blade. Excellent. That's good. Ryan says 4 elite slots, 6 troop, 3. Well, okay. So the only one I was off on was elites. You were correct on everything else. It's 3 HQs.
Okay.
Scott says I'd settle for some helmets and shoulder pads. I'm not that fussy. Just an army of beaky Marines doesn't fit the picture I have in my head for my Death Guard army. That's fair.
I feel that.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Definitely.
There's gotta be a bit site somewhere or somebody that knows somebody who has like a zillion Mark III heads.
I would suggest that perhaps Scott goes and checks out Pop Goes the Monkey, because all of the stuff they got from them has been really nice and it's worked well. So you probably either get Mark III shoulder pads for Death Guard, or you can get icons to stick onto Mark III shoulder pads if you already have some. So that's what I would check. Dave says most of my breaches are Mark III. Ryan says most of my fists are Mark III, for now at least. But yeah, I think definitely breaches look fantastic in that Mark III approach.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing crazy, terrible guys like mine.
Gross.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about skirmish games.
Skirmish games. So jumping into the topic for this evening, skirmish games. So I think I mentioned it a couple of places where I've had to type it up. It's like skirmish games have been on the rise. They've been having a renaissance for the last 6 or 7 years. So I was super excited that we've got our finger on the pulse and we're finally talking about them now. Never let it be said. Right. Never let it be said that we're ahead of the curve.
We are right on that bloody edge.
the trailing bloody edge.
Yeah, the trailing bloody edge. We're all the bloody.
Where it's about to switch to like mass combat games again.
Yeah, for sure.
Excellent. But no, skirmish games have been going absolutely nuts, completely crazy. Even to the point where, obviously, 7 years ago, GW decided that they didn't want a rank and flank fantasy game anymore, and blew up the old world. So, lots of interesting decisions have been made by my folks that have really pushed the idea of skirmish games into people's hands. What do you think that is? Why do you think skirmish games have enjoyed this?
So I don't think necessarily that. I don't think that the reason skirmish games have gotten more popular really has anything to do with GW blowing up the old world. I think that for a long time, a perfect example of this would be Privateer. So when I want to think, it was like fourth edition, I think, when War Machine came out, like third or fourth edition when War Machine came out, and when it first came out, it was a skirmish game. Like you bought like the Signar starter or like the the Cawdor starter, and it was like, here's your Warcaster, who's basically your boss, and then you get a light warjack and a unit of dudes, or like two light warjacks, or like a heavy warjack and a troll. Like, but your army was like 9 models. Like it was never big. Like when I think the biggest army I ever had was I had a Warcaster, 2 medium jacks, a unit of trenchers, like the dudes with the rifles, and then I had the troll character.
Right.
And that was like my whole army. It was like, what, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It was 10 models.
Okay.
And I loved it. I was like, oh, this is super cool. I think that's why it took off, because people were like, oh, yeah, I play Warhammer and I have a huge army, but I also grabbed these like 10 dudes and I play this skirmish game.
Yeah.
Because originally it was a skirmish game, and then it got bigger, and then I think Privateer was like, oh, well, we can compete with GW, and they leaned into doing more of like a true scale war game, and then that's when they lost me. I was like, oh, I don't want to have to buy all that. I liked this because it was a skirmish game. Like it seemed really cool that it's like a handful of dudes and their 2 giant mechs are trying to like do this secret mission, as opposed to like it being an open warfare game.
Right. Yep.
And GW always scratched the itch for me when it came to like the big games. So you had like I had an epic Space Marine army. I had a Battlefleet Gothic fleet. I had a huge Space Marine army. I had we all had Warhammer Fantasy battle armies.
Yep.
And then they also added like Lord of the Rings, which was another huge fantasy game. Like that was a big game. And at first they were smart about it. Like the original box, remember, it was like the Fellowship.
Yep.
So like one guy was basically playing a skirmish army.
Yep.
And then the other guy was playing like a bunch of orcs.
Right.
So you were like, oh, it's kind of a weird hybrid, like, because you're playing like 8 heroes against like 30 orcs.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's always been a thing, but I feel like part of the popularity was the fact that it was easier to get into because you had less stuff to worry about. Pocketbook shock is a thing. Like a lot of people were like, oh, like I don't have to buy this, and it was like, yeah, here's your Signar starter. You are all set. You can play.
Yeah.
And GW's always had small scale stuff. Like, I mean, at this time back then, they had like Mordheim, and you had Necromunda.
Battlefield Gothic. Blood
Yeah,
Bowl.
I mean, yeah, even Gothic. Like, yeah, Gothic is basically a skirmish game. Like, it's only, unless you're playing like some insane fleet, you were usually running like between 6 and 12 ships. It's not like it was a huge thing. But I don't know. In terms of popularity, I think the price thing always makes it easy, and I think if you have sexy models, I think it's super easy to make that jump. Like Infinity is another game. Like I don't play Infinity. I think the rule set is it's cool, but I think it's kind of a mess. I love that their use of like terrain and like you can have cover and all that stuff, but there's just so many different things. That's everything in the different factions can do differently. Like there's, as a 40K player, it's easy enough to go, I play Space Marines, I know how my army works. Oh, you're playing Guardsmen, I kind of understand how they work.
Yep.
But Infinity, it's like, I know how my guys work. Oh, your guys don't do anything like what mine do? Okay, I don't know anything about your army. Oh, and this other guy's army is completely different than your, like, it's just too much for me. I'm like, it's a lot. But, there's tons of good skirmish games now.
I think that's an interesting point. But one thing I just want to go back and quickly say is I didn't think that skirmish games... don't think skirmish games have taken off because Games Workshop killed Warhammer, but rather Games Workshop killed off Warhammer because skirmish games were a bigger thing, and it had caused people to move away from Warhammer,
Sure,
or large battle games like Warhammer. But I think something you just hit on there with talking about Infinity and the Infinity approach is something that I've seen in a lot of skirmish games, or the way that different companies that have skirmish games kind of approach them, is that because you were probably looking at it as a casual player, I've got these dudes, I'd like to play a game, sure, let's just throw down. That the game evolves to a point where that's no longer how you can interact with it. You've got to be a hardcore player to understand where all the factions are going, what all the factions are doing. You got to have 3 or 4 different forces to have a good grasp of what everybody's up to.
Right.
I think something similar probably happened. Well, a little bit of that happened with War Machine and Hordes. There's been some other games as well where that's kind of fit into. I think Kill Team for casual Warhammer 40k players. Kill Team's at a point now where it's not as simple as it was the first time around. It's a different sort of thing. You've got to commit to playing Kill Team and learn a new set of rules rather than a vaguely similar set of rules.
Yeah.
So there's I think it's a very interesting sort of path that manufacturers have to take as they're going through it. And I think yeah, I'm going to come back to that in a second, but just quickly, what have we got? Dave Hummel says, can you skirmish with a chapter's worth of Marines?
Sure.
Yeah, on a certain scale, yes. Not a problem. Scott says, Skirmish Games, I want to shout out Pulp Alley, Last Days, Horizon War Zero Dawn. Oh, Zero Dark. Wonder if it's... Is that the same one? Zero Dawn's the board game, right? Bing Lee. Bing's in the chat. Hey, Bing. Says, I get bored painting squads and units of similar models. I love painting individual characters. Hence why Skirmish Gaming is good for him. Dave Hummel says it's fast, it's less expensive, starting out, it's more availability. And GW in particular is using them as like a starter drug.
Like,
Pick
so
up
normally
Warcraft.
I would agree with that, except I think that see, I don't think that's the case though. Like even like looking at people that get into it at my shop,
Yep.
I think the skirmish games are great, and I think a lot of people dig them. But most people that come in, it's like it's a lot of like, oh, my friend plays 40k, I want to play 40k.
Right.
Like most people are not like, well, I'll start with Kill Team, and then I'll get into this, or I'll start with Warcry, and then I'll get into Age of Sigmar.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's an interesting one. I think it'd be interesting to see the numbers and work out how many new gamers are coming in as my friend already plays,
Right.
and how many new gamers are coming in as a group of people who none of them have played before. And so where do they choose to start? Do they choose to go straight for a larger game? Or do they choose skirmish gaming? I'd be very keen to see that information. Scott says, I'm with Bing. As I became a better, slower painter, I enjoy the challenge and reward of single minis, and skirmish games are where it's at. Scott's also going to shout out Don't Look Back by Blacksite Studios. Great 80s slasher movie game that is a good gateway game for family time or non-gamers. That's super cool. I love the way that Blacksite have presented Don't Look Back. I don't think we have any pictures of it later on, so we'll talk about it now.
Cool thing about that.
Yep.
My business partner Ben.
Yep.
Ben went to school with the kid who designed that game. Like they're friends. He had no idea that he did it, and they ran into each other at Adepticon.
Nice. That's cool. But yeah, I love that it's got that whole 80s slasher flick kind of thing, and each of the groupings of models are sold in a VHS tape container.
So good.
So, Scott says, is there a good World War II or better yet Weird War skirmish set? I use Pulp Alley now, but it's not strictly a war game style rule set. You can find there are a few out there. My mind's crazy. So, bolt action can be done at a variety of army sizes or unit sizes or game sizes, I guess. It's on the cusp of being a battle game or a larger game, but Conflict 47 is the Weird War version.
Yep. That's by Clockwork Goblin, but Warlord distributes it.
Distribute that. There is, I'm gonna have to come back to you on that one, Scott. There are two others that I'm trying to think of. One's done by Westwind Productions in the UK. So you can check them out. And they have done some stuff with, they were connected with Grindhouse Games, who did Incursion, which is like a Weird War Space Hulk kind of game, which is super cool. Tim says, I just remembered Warhammer Historical Legends of the High Seas, Legends of the Wild West. Those were killer skirmish games. They were, and of course, Tim likes those ones because they were based completely on the Lord of the Rings strategy battle game. Tim is a huge Lord of the Rings strategy battle game fan, and I would go so far as to agree with Tim that it is the most tactical game that GW has ever produced.
Lord of the Rings?
Lord of the Rings strategy battle game. All of, in a lot of other games, there are other games, and like half the battle is won in your army selection. Lord of the Rings, so much of the game, like 80-90% of it is your decisions on the battlefield in the moment. So I'm saying it's tactical choices, not strategic choices. Tactical choices are the for that I'd say that.
Are you talking about the newer version or the original?
The original, and I don't believe it's changed too much.
So my issue with the original was, I mean, obviously when we were there, you had to play. We had to play all of them. We had to have a 40K army. You had to have a fantasy army. You had to have a Lord of the Rings army. And my issue with Lord of the Rings was always like, it was kind of the same problem I had with the later editions of fantasy, where they were like, it was Hero Hammer. So it was like, okay, I'm gonna run Boromir of the White Tower. I'm gonna run Prince Imrahil, and I'm gonna run Aragorn. So I get a zillion might points, and I basically just can't lose.
Well, if your opponent runs their army, just hurls them into you all together, sure. If they just feed them to you piecemeal, and they go and achieve the objectives, tactical decisions.
That was always, yeah. I mean, again, that was always. But it depended on the mission, right? Like there were missions. You have to defend the White Tower. It's like, cool, I can't lose. I'm going to take Boromir. I'm going to take the White Tower Guardsman that he buffs. Yep. Like there were all these like things that I was like, oh man, like that always annoyed me. But yeah, I agree. I think if you were doing it as like a not a tournament, like a league where you had like a campaign where you had to do like all these different missions and you couldn't change your army, then yeah, I agree with you. I think that the tactical stuff makes a lot more sense. But that was my issue with that. You could always be like, I'm gonna monkey wrench your whole plan and take I'm gonna take 100 goblins in the Balrog. So
I think yeah, we'll have to have a game of it at some point.
What else we got here? Quick note about bolt action and Warlord. So the whole reason that bolt action basically exists is as part of John Stoward's when he left. Like Warlord Games basically has all of the stuff that was Warhammer Historicals now. That's what Hail Caesar is and all that stuff.
No,
a huge chunk of it is.
No. I mean, yeah. No, it's not.
It was all the Perry Brothers skulls.
Oh, miniatures wise.
Yeah.
Well, like they're historical miniatures, so any any historical miniatures can fit into that.
Yeah, and he'll do it. Like, but that's literally that was like their start was when he left. He was like, okay, I'm taking all this because
No, he didn't.
he has all the molds.
They didn't have molds for, like, GW never had historical miniature molds for
Who had
Warhammer historical stuff.
Who had them?
Do you mean who had the Perry miniatures stuff? The Perrys made their miniatures.
For GW?
No, for Perry miniatures. It was an agreement that they had that they could do historical miniatures.
Okay, because I remember us being able to order the historical stuff through Bits catalog. Like we could get like I had a huge army of like Roman legionnaires that was all like that I had all ordered through like the Bits catalog.
Right. Yep. No, they weren't GWs.
That's crazy.
Originally, it would have been some crazy arrangement.
Yeah, that would have been totally nuts.
Yep. Absolutely. Scott says, you're thinking of Secrets of the Third Reich, Dave. Thank you. Yes, that's what I'm thinking of. Kind of unplayable. That's a shame. I never played it myself, but I played Incursion, though. And you have Conflict 47 and Bolt Action. Cool. Tim says, preach. It's talking about me, talking about Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And he says to you, come play it with me. You'll see.
Yeah, see, Scott gets it. Scott said he thinks it was great as a scenario game, and it is. I think it's awesome as a scenario.
I want to see you guys. I want to see if you guys are actually like two different people, or if you're the same. Because I've never seen you both together in the same room.
That's probably true. Well, he's in Canada.
Yeah. Well, that's what he says.
Okay.
Fantastic. James LaCour says, or run the Hobbit Archer army. Yep, I've never seen that happen, but
yeah, that was the equivalent of like the rattling slingers in or the Skaven slingers in Mordheim. It was the same, worked the same way.
Yep.
That Archer army.
Yep. Dave says, Lord of the Rings was such a mismanaged release initially, like 2 months of build up for us and then release and nothing for follow up. It was a great tactical game. Yeah, I think it was just super confusing for them at the time because it was something they'd never done before. You can say, well, they released lots of games, but they never released a what do you call it? A licensed game, and they were hyper focused on making sure they didn't step out of line at all. So there wasn't like, I think what they could do for 40k and Warhammer at the time was like, oh, here's a great idea. Yeah, let's quickly get somebody to sculpt it up and like turn it around and send it out in metal like 2 months later or a week
right.
or a month later. But they couldn't do anything like that for Lord of the Rings.
I know that the Perry brothers sculpted a bunch of the Lord of the Rings stuff, and then part of, if I remember, Dave, you might be able to correct this, but from what I remember, I think part of the reason that GW got Lord of the Rings was because at one point, supposedly Lucasfilm had like pitched them the idea of making a Star Wars miniatures combat game, and GW was like, we don't want to make another sci-fi game. It'll be too close to Warhammer. Like, we don't want to do that. And then they just didn't do it. It basically got shelved. And then the new Star Wars movies came out, and I think they saw how big it could be, so they didn't want to like have that opportunity miss them again. So when New Line came to them, and the Tolkien whole family holdings or whatever approached them, they were like, "Oh yeah, we'll do it. We'll absolutely take that."
I think I hadn't heard the story about the Star Wars thing, but I could see that. I see that happening around like in the late 80s. Well, 40k was taking off. But it was definitely GW went to New Line and that to get there to try and get the license, because it's basically
the new box is great. What is it? Battle for Osgiliath, I think.
Right. Yep.
That box is nuts.
Yep. It does look super cool. But yeah. Scott said, "You guys remember when Dave told Jake to stay in your lane, you '80s cartoon toy freak?"
I do remember that. I do remember.
Yeah, it sounded different coming out of my mouth, but sure.
He's paraphrasing.
Nice. Josh says Mecha Games for Skirmish Game. Mecha Games for Skirmish Games. Minimum sized unit of 1 mech. Yeah, I think absolutely. There's so many games that fit into that. So yeah, taking that back. So BattleTech is a skirmish game.
So BattleTech, I think, can be both, because if you play traditional BattleTech, you kind of there's nothing in the rules that says you have to play a small game. But
Right.
if we want to finish that game today, the biggest you can go is like an enhanced lance. So it should be 4 mechs against like a clan star, or like we played a game a couple weeks ago. I ran the standard armor combat box, which is 8 mechs. So it's 2 lances against the clan invasion box, which is a star, and then 2 points of elementals.
Okay.
So it's basically 7 things against 8 things, and that's pretty even. But I mean, it took Ben and I don't know, 4 hours. It was like playing a 40K game.
Right.
So it was a skirmish game, but like it's land battleship is what it is.
Sure.
Like it's,
Yeah. So it's,
but you can play the new one. You can play is the new Alpha Strike rules,
okay.
which really like strips it down and makes it way simpler. But it's so you can play mass battles. So I can be like, I'm gonna run a whole mech company and have like 30 mechs.
Okay.
You can run a trinary and have like 2 full stars. Like it's pretty cool. So I like that you can kind of do either. When I think skirmish games, I always think small model count, but I also think like it's a game we should be able to knock out in like our lunch hour kind of thing.
Right.
But that's not really necessarily true.
Not really where it's at. I'm gonna check and see if Scott has played Gamma Wolves by Ash Barker. Because that's Ash is a huge mech fan. But,
I love giant robots.
yeah, I like them. I think they're cool. I'm not as
Your desk is peopled with giant robots. You just showed one off.
It's true. Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff. Oh, here's another one.
Yikes!
That's my one of my Death Guard defilers.
Nice.
And I got another one underway. But yeah, so
David's got it. Dave said GW tried in the early '90s for a Star Wars minigame based on the West End Games RPG.
okay,
I knew there was some weird thing in the '90s, but
right.
and Rick Priestley has an interview where he talks about taking the idea for Lord of the Rings to
Tolkien.
to Tolkien and remind them that if GW
Oh no, Tom
didn't get the
Kirby.
license-
It would have been Tom Kirby. Yeah.
Yeah, Marvel Crisis Protocol is a great game. That game is super fun. Really great. The rules are super snappy. That's a really fun game.
Yep.
Back in the day, Scott would show up, meet my opponent, play a game of Warhammer 6th Edition, clean up, shoot the breeze, then leave, all while 2 people tried to play confrontation.
Yep. Absolutely fair. Not every skirmish game is a quick game.
That's true. There is a rumor that I will not substantiate. But there is a rumor that confrontation is going to get re-released.
Oh, is this because there was a Kickstarter 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
No, it's something different. Like from what I understand, that Kickstarter, because that Kickstarter didn't really do anything.
Yeah.
I think there's a new ownership group that's trying to work something out. Scott says that he has not played Gamma Wolves.
Okay. Yep. Absolutely cool. No worries. Excellent.
Let's look at some pictures.
Let's do that. Let's look at some
What do we got? What do we got for cool stuff?
cool stuff. Let me.
Like cool stuff.
Oh, I'm gonna pull. You know how last time I had it all written down on a sheet of paper?
Sure.
Now I've got it all on a photograph.
Ooh, all right.
Everyone's name and the game that is representing. So let's see if we can get through all of these. So first up, okay. Ooh, sorry, I just need to don't know if we've transitioned.
I think I sold my Lord of the Rings army.
Yeah. Oh,
Nice. That's very Blanchitsu.
it is. So definitely cool there. This is from Ashwin Oy. Hopefully I pronounced your name correctly, Ashwin. But yeah, Inquisitor 28. It's a fantastic combination of the Night Haunts.
Yes, the Chain Rasp. I see the Chain Rasp guy in there. I see Kalak the Jailer.
Yep. And a lot of fantastic Adeptus Mechanicus stuff.
Talk about a great game. Inquisitor was such a dope game.
Yeah. I gotta admit, I never actually played it. I built a lot of models for it. I probably built like 20 or 30 models for it. I've also since painted maybe 40 or 50 models for on commission. But I never actually played it. I think mainly because we didn't have terrain. And it was kind of... It didn't feel like a good idea to go and build... like 54 mil terrain that we're just going to use a few times.
Well, so here's the funny thing. If you look at all the old GW building kits, the reason why the doors are so big and the windows are so huge is the Inquisitor scale.
Yeah. Yep.
Which always like, but like they didn't tell anybody that, and those designs didn't get released till after Inquisitor was dead.
Yeah.
But because like our buddy Dave up here was building stuff, and we were kind of targeted. He was like, "Well, yeah, it's all Inquisitor scale," and we were like, "What?" And I was like, "Dude, it blew my mind." But I still had some Inquisitor figures, and I was like, "Wait a minute!" I was like, "Get one out, pull the dust off," and I was like, "Oh my god, it is! It's all Inquisitor scale terrain."
Yep. Yep. All crazy stuff. But yeah.
But yeah, 28 mil Inquisitor would be dope.
Yep. So there's obviously there's a great community, an Inc 28 community out there that's doing all sorts of things. Some folks are just using Necromunda. Some folks are mashing rules together. Some folks are doing their own stuff. It's a whole range of things that are going on, which is absolutely definitely cool. But yeah, just search Instagram for hashtag Inc 28. So INQ28.
Next week I'll just bring my warband. It's just it's the Death Watch 28 mil Captain Artemis. Like that's my warband.
That's your warband. Nice.
Dude, he was disgusting in Inquisitor.
I'm sure he was. But okay, I'm just gonna I have to switch my modes there so I can make a change, and then do this. Oh, next up. We have some stuff from Bing. So we have Bing's Bushido.
Oh, that's another great game. I know Bushido. It's a sweet game.
Yep. I have not played Bushido at all, but Bushido's is it GCT Studios? Is that it?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
GCT. Super nice guys.
Yep.
When we first opened, we had a couple come in. We literally had been open for like a couple of weeks, and a couple was like, "Can you give me Bushido?" And I was like, "What is that?" And they were like, "Oh, it's a miniatures game from a company in the UK." And I was like, "I will try my best." And we got it, and they ended up playing it in the store, which spawned other people to get into it. But yeah, the minis are great. They're super nice.
Yeah, they are fantastically detailed. So much.
These are good too. It's a good rule set.
Excellent.
Yeah, those guys are great. Tons of color.
Yeah, definitely awesome stuff. But it's very much fantasy.
Yes, fantasy feudal Japan.
Fantasy feudal Japan. Okay, cool.
Is that guy in the back riding a bat?
I don't know. I think it might be.
Bing, is he riding a bat? Because if he is, that's amazing.
That would be super awesome.
Yeah, I think it is. It looks like his wings are all like underneath him.
Yep, tucked in there.
That's dope.
Next up, we've got another photo from Bing. This is some of his Malifaux stuff.
Malifaux, the game that I don't know anybody who plays.
Yeah? we've got quite a few Malifaux things in the list. I think this is one of those games as well where, in Malifaux Second Edition, there was you could kind of sort of wander in and be a bit more casual.
Sure.
But over time, it's moved to you've got to be dedicated to your Malifaux to, sort of jump in and play and know what's going on.
I love their models. I think the folks at Malifaux do a great job with their minis and like their design. Like they're super nice. Like I have this running gag with Rick where I don't understand how they function as a company.
Right.
Like
Okay.
it doesn't make any sense to me. I'm like, your minis are great. They're super high quality. They have a ton of plastics. The sculpts are awesome. But I literally, like, we talked this before. I mean, I've been playing games since I was like 10.
Right.
And I've been in the industry for almost 20 years. Out of all the people that we know, I know like 3 people that play Malifaux.
Okay.
And like we don't sell at the store. We carried it. We stocked the whole range.
Yep.
And I had 2 guys that like went nuts and they were like, "Oh, can you give me this? Can you give me this? Can you give me this?" And they play.
Yep.
And then we had a kid come in who was like our like whatever you call their street team dudes. I forget what they're called. Like so he came in and he like tried to organize a bunch of events and like he had a ton of interest and then like nobody showed up.
Right.
Like repeatedly.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I guess we're gonna stop carrying Malifaux. And like nobody cared that we stopped carrying Malifaux. I was like, all right. I mean, I can still order it all. We just don't stock it.
Sure. Just remember that's in your part of the world there.
No, I get that.
World.
Yeah, no, I get that. But like, I even made a point at Gamma to like talk to a bunch of other store owners that I know, and I was like, hey, does anyone have Malifaux? Now, 2 guys were like, what's that? And I was like, okay, never mind. But like, a couple guys were like, yeah, I have a guy here and there that like asks for stuff. But again, I'm just saying, like, again, I like it.
Oh, yeah.
Clearly, they're doing something right. Like, I love their minis.
Yep.
But I was like, I just don't know anybody who's like, oh, yeah, dude, we play it all the time.
Yep.
It's a huge game at my store.
Well, I bet you Bing's going to say, oh, yeah, dude, we play it all the time. It's all good.
Awesome. Great. I'm happy to know that there are people playing the game because it looks dynamite.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played 3rd edition, but I played quite a bit in 2nd edition. The Guild really spoke to me. So the Guild are kind of the Wild West humans.
Yep.
So I thought it was fantastic. Playing a game with no dice after playing so many games for so many years with dice all the time was really a very interesting sort of change.
Yep.
To move to that. So yeah, it was absolutely wild doing that.
Terrain matters too. They like when the 2 guys that do play in our store, their table always looks super cool. They bring a lot of their own. Like this one guy paints everything. He has all his own terrain. He brings it in and he like sets up the table. And like you said, it's like a Wild West kind of looking town. And then they run around. Like it really does look great. That's why I'm always like, why aren't there more people playing this game? But
yeah, it's cool. It's definitely cool. At Adepticon next year, you'll have to check out the Malifaux tournaments. And, see what the folks there who are super into it and. I
assume that's all the Malifaux players. They're like, we got all of them. They're all
of them. Yeah, all 32. I've judged the painting at Adepticon before for the Malifaux tournament, and it's definitely very cool stuff.
I like the weird the demony people. Right. Like there's like the weird like bat looking girl who has like bat wings, and then there's like I have 2 Malifaux warbands that I'm painting for a kid next month on commission, and one is like this like sorcerer looking guy with these 3 little dudes.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, these models are really cool, but I didn't know they were Malifaux when he sent it to me.
Right.
And then because the guys that I painted for the last guy they're like Shaolin monk looking dudes.
Yep.
Like they look super cool.
I think it's the 10 Thunders.
Yeah, I was like, those models are great.
Yep. Yeah, definitely super cool. What I was going to say, it is one of the games where, talking about it from a marketing standpoint.
Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch of boxes that are based around so you have your master, a henchman, and minions.
Yep.
essentially. So they really released a whole bunch of these boxes, all in plastic. But the clever thing was that you got a master, and the henchmen worked pretty well with him, and the minions worked quite well with the master.
Yep.
But that henchman always worked a little bit better with a master from a different box.
Oh,
So
okay.
It's like, how can I get the most out of this guy?
That's pretty slick. I
Well,
like
don't
that.
run in with that master. Run in with this other master. Well, the only way to get that other master is he's in a box, and then you get another henchman.
I do love the giant. I do love the giant bear. That used to be at their booth all the time. The huge grizzly bear.
Yep. These are good. I think these are the Neverborn. I'm feeling
Oh, right. Yeah, they're all like the Twisted Fairy Tale Dream guys.
Dream guys. Yep. But I also love the way that Bing's arranged them there in that rainbow
Cool.
across. But yeah, nice stuff. Okay, next up. Oh my goodness. Who? Now I've got a phone. My phone's going to slip across. Oh my bad. Originally I said that Bing had done that Bushido work.
Yeah.
It was my mistake. That was Ben Williams. Sorry, Ben. But remember back to the Bushido. So next up here we have Marvel Crisis Protocol. Again,
Sweet.
this is from Bing. So, yes, let's remember that.
MODOK. MODOK's the best.
Yeah. But I think I always thought superhero games were a little bit kind of strange because you've got so many characters that can just like beat the living snot out of each other. And yet it seems that Marvel Crisis Protocol has been done pretty well.
The big thing is they do a great job balancing stuff. Like, by the way, these are three characters that are awesome. You've got Baron Zemo, who looks dynamite. You got MODOK, who looks amazing, super cartoony. I love the finish on the metal on his legs and his arms. That looks awesome. And then you've got the Red Skull with the Cosmic Cube, and he even did the light effect on his like face and stuff. It really is a fun game. The coolest thing that they do that I think helps balance it is that you've got like you can take like X amount of points worth of heroes.
Yep.
And some missions you can have more, some missions you can have less. But like, let's say like you can have 7 points of heroes. Okay, cool. I'm gonna take Thor. Okay, well Thor's 4 points.
Right.
So he's like he's more than half your points. And you're like, okay, cool. Well, I guess I'll take, some other guy. So like the points is what matters.
You take Hawkeye and the Black Widow. Yeah.
Right, like Black Widow, there's a 3-point version of her and there's a 1-point version of her.
Right.
Like some heroes have different like versions you can run. So the 1-point version of her, she's not particularly great at anything. But if you're taking a mission where like you have a bunch of objectives,
right,
she runs over and takes an objective.
Yep.
And it's like if you're running the Hulk and you have to take 5 objectives, you basically can't win the game because you can't get all the objectives.
Right. You can't throw them all together into a central point and then stand on the pile of objectives.
But no, it's really fun, and like the cool thing too is like they do a good job of like they keep spreading out the world and adding more stuff and adding new factions, and when you get faction bonuses, you can do more stuff. So like if you take, let's say you take like Hawkeye, Black Widow, Iron Man, and the Wasp, and you take Captain America, they all have the Avengers keyword.
Okay.
So Cap has an ability where like he can activate Avengers Assemble, and then like anybody who has an Avengers keyword does this other thing.
Okay.
So you could totally be like, well, I really want to take I don't know, Black Bolt because I think he's super cool. It's like you totally can, but he doesn't have the Avengers keyword, so you're not maximizing like Cap's ability kind of thing. So if you want to just be like, I'm going to take these 3 guys, they're my favorite heroes, that's totally fine.
Right.
But it kind of plays more into like the strengths of the game if you kind of think along those team lines where you're like, I'm going to run the Invaders. So I'm going to take Namor, the original Human Torch, and Captain America because they all have the Invaders keyword. Like it's really, really fun. And it's such a deep universe. They just keep adding more stuff. Like they just did all the I saw Chris Gorka posted, he just painted the Soviets.
Yep. Is that the winter team?
The Winter Guard.
Winter Guard, right?
Like they look phenomenal. Like you've got like Red Guardian, and you've got Ursa Major and Dark Star and like Crimson Dynamo. Like they all have that. They all have that keyword though.
Right.
So I'm sure that they get like a faction bonus because they all have like, I don't know what it is, but I'm sure they all have one. But it's really fun. It really is a cool game, and it gives you a lot of kind of license to take your time and do some interesting paint techniques on them because the models are so different. Like even these three, like, you know, MODOK is unlike any other model. He's so weird.
He is the weirdest model ever.
He's super strange. A machine designed only for killing.
Excellent. Cool. Moving right along, we have some stuff from Brandon Landon. We have a Relic Blade force posse gang. I'm not sure what they're called in Relic Blade, but
they look like Grung from Dungeons and Dragons, the poison toads.
Yeah, you got that thing going on for sure, and there's that sweet lizard mount in the background.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Relic Blade is a super fun game. The guy that makes it, super nice guy. Ben talks to him pretty regularly at the shop, and he's a super nice guy. The minis are cool.
Scott says, I don't think that's Relic Blade. Are you sure? I'm going to say, no, I'm not sure. I thought it might be, because I'd seen Brandon make a comment about Relic Blade at some point, but I went back and checked. There is a force. They've closed down that window. I'm sorry. But if anybody does recognize them as something different, let us know.
Well, they are super cool minis, and Relic Blade is still a super cool game.
Yes. I'll bring up the next one then, because I know that these are Relic Blade. These are from Chris Gorka. So they do look fantastic. These wonderful crazy dwarves.
Oh yeah, those bases are different, so that was probably not Relic Blade.
Oh, right. My bad.
Those are super cool.
We'll work out what they were, and we'll come back and mention it next week.
That creepy shadow in the background, that thing's awesome.
It is, isn't it? Just that the eyes and mouth and not a lot else. But no, these do look cool. I think at some point, as I said, I've never played Relic Blade, but at some point I would really like to have. Why is my brain gone to mush?
You would like to play Relic Blade at some point?
No, I would like to have the designer of Relic Blade on.
Oh, we could probably make that happen.
I feel so terrible. So terrible. I'm super apologies, but yeah, I think we can make that happen. But he does the art, he sculpts the minis, he designs the game, he lays everything out, he markets it all, and sells it from his garage. It is absolutely fantastic. Sean Sutter, there we go. Thank you very much. I was going to say Scott, but then I was like, Scott doesn't work. Scott is the wrong name in this setting, except to say, Scott, thanks for reminding me that it's Sean. But yeah, Sean does all those wonderful things all himself, and that just like blows my mind that he does all those things. Absolutely super cool. And I think a little bit later we have a mini from Malev. We've got a Relic Blade mini from Malev. Who is doing a lot of the studio painting for Relic Blade.
What do we got?
So super cool. But next up, we have something from Dave Powell's. His favorite skirmish game is Necromunda. And he's a big fan of the Eschers. So this is his Escher gang.
They are the best. Who doesn't love punk rock girls?
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. I mean, he's just one of the things I love about this particular warband is that basically the clothing is all is the connecting color,
Yeah.
but the hairstyles or the hair colors are wonderfully different across them all, and because that's such an important part of the model, you get that riot of colors, but they're still tied together with the armor and the clothing, and the basing, of course. But yeah, they've done some beautiful work on those.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
Even the old models, even the old metal ones, like the old sculpts are still great. Like they I think they have a really strong aesthetic.
They do. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I think the design team did such a great job designing them, and like even when they updated them into the plastics, they didn't really change them a lot.
No. Well, those original ones were Jez Goodwin sculpts.
Yeah.
So and
Just
designs.
man.
Yep. Absolute god. There we go. So they look fantastic. Thanks very much, Dave, for sending us those. Next up, we have. Let me make sure I get his name correct. We have Dexter Kleinfelter with some Ink 28. So again, a fantastic. It's got an Inquisitor warband here. You can see the Inquisitor in the middle with his ragtag band of troopers and other assistants. That dog there is fantastic.
Yeah. Those are sick.
You'd appear to be stunned. You're just leaning in nice and close.
It's super dark, so I'm just trying to like.
Yeah.
It's awesome though. I really like the main guy. I think his body, like his torso, is from the Primaris chaplain.
Yep. It's from the. I think it's the. Is it?
It's the chaplain. It's the guy with the staff.
Okay.
He like swapped out his legs and swapped out his arms and stuff.
I wasn't sure
like
if it was from the guy from the Indomitus box with the Executioner chaplain.
No, it's
No,
the chest is the giveaway. The rib cage chest is from the chaplain piece.
Okay.
They are very similar though.
Yeah.
But yeah, these are great. Again, this is some serious Blanchitsu.
Yeah. It's just these look gorgeous. But again, Ink 28. If you're interested in that, the grim dark corners of the 40k universe, that's the way to go. Definitely nice. Next up, we have this is a nice bright one for you. This is from Freighter Chem, and it's Space Hulk. Is it technically a skirmish game? I think so. Yeah.
Sure.
Some people might say it's a board game, but I think it's a skirmish game fought on a board.
You are correct. Yeah, he's that whole all the Terminators out of that box are phenomenal.
Yep. So this is out of the 2009 box set. I think I have. Yep, I still have one in shrink wrap over there.
Mine's right there and it's open.
Nice. I got one that's open.
I do have 3 sets of the Terminators though.
All right. Nice. Yeah, these are the Gene Stealers from the open box that I've got are the ones that I use for my Gene Stealer cult army. But I think I love the paint work on this. It's just it's done beautifully in a modern style on these 2009 miniatures, but the color choices and the way that the photography's been done for this, it just feels like the Wayne England art.
Yeah.
Wayne England color art out of the previous edition of Space Hulk.
Yeah, it's retro classic with a modern technique.
Yeah. Yep. It does look
yeah. Those Terminators are phenomenal. They are literally some of the best sculpts ever.
Yeah. If you're a Blood Angels player.
I mean, even if you're not a Blood Angels player, those sculpts are phenomenal.
That's
if you're
true.
a Blood Angels player, those sculpts are a gift.
They are. It's true, but yeah, you just need to go along and do a lot of carving off of blood drops.
Yeah.
But no, they are fantastic. They do look great. But yeah, Space Hulk, again, another excellent choice.
My favorite is the captain with the power sword and the he's got the fangs.
Right.
Oh man, when that came out, I was like, damn.
Next up, we've got a Kill Team representation. This was sent by Jeff Smith. So this is his Primaris Reavers.
Nice. They all got the leather masks on.
Yep, they do.
They're all they're all luchador space wolves.
They are indeed. You'll never find out their true identity.
No.
But they will kill you while you try. But yeah, Kill Team. I haven't played the new Kill Team. Have you played it yet?
Yeah, well, not the newest update, which is basically just them clarifying some stuff.
Yep.
But like I played it when they first released it a couple years ago. It's super fun. It really is a tight game, and all of the updates they've done over the years have just kind of like, balanced everything out. It's super fun.
Right. Cool. Yeah, we haven't played it for a little while. I think we played the previous edition. Haven't played the latest edition yet, but I think it'd be fun to try out. And I think I'd like to use that the Chaos Guard.
Oh, okay.
Warband, I think, from the Morok box set. So I think I'm just waiting for that to be released separately. It'll be a lot of fun to work on those. But yeah, Jeff's done a great job on these.
Yeah,
beautiful.
These are awesome.
Yep. Scott says Jeff Smith is a real person. I found out. He is indeed.
This is true.
Next up on the list. Oh yeah, here we go. This is the one of the photos from Malev. So painted up the unfortunately on my screen it's super tiny because I've got so many different variations over there.
Oh yeah, that's Relic Blade too.
Yeah, it's Relic Blade for sure. But again, definitely cool stuff. And as I said, Sean does all the art for those cards, and they just look fantastic. I love the sort of the fighting styles kind of card there. It looks like it's been pulled from a sword manual, a fighting manual. But yeah, awesome stuff, Sean and Malev. Thank you very much.
Yeah, great color work too. He did a cool job with like source lighting and stuff.
Yeah. Next up, we've got it's from Mark Koselniak. So Mark's one of the guys I play against on a fairly regular basis. This is Warcry Warband. I think this is
nice. Who doesn't love the Daughters of Cain?
Daughters of Cain, yeah. They look fantastic. I love the anytime that you can put together the like purple and that like fluorescent green kind of color scheme. It's definitely sweet. But Warcry,
it looks like he used a lot of what is it? The Nilak oxide.
Okay. Yep.
That's that like pale like Statue of Liberty green stone kind of look.
Right. Yep. On the hair there. Or...
But yeah, they look great.
They do look very cool. Warcry's another great game. I haven't gone through the changes from between like with the new edition, the Heart of Gur edition. But
so the big thing now is with Heart of Gur, they're making it so that every faction is playable, and because they want people to feel like I want to play Age of Sigmar, but I don't know that I necessarily want to buy a whole army.
Right.
So it's still Warcry, but now it's not necessarily you just have to do the warbands. Ben has a really interesting take on it. The gangs, like the warbands,
yep,
like all the different like the chaos gangs, like they feel like they are right. Like they feel like they're balanced. They feel like they are designed to play. And then I think people were like, "Oh, well, how come my army isn't in this game?" And then they were like, "Let's stick Daughters of Cain in there, and let's stick Sigmarites in there." And it was like, why are they here? Like the whole point of this is that it's supposed to be chaos warbands fighting for control of the eight points. Like that's what it's supposed to be. So they added all this other stuff, which I think is really fun, but it definitely feels weird. Like the other gangs feel like they fit better in the rules.
Right.
So they've added the new stuff, and the Heart of Gur like fleshes it out and balances a little bit better, so you can play whatever. So this is a great way for me to paint, 9 or 10 Daughters of Cain. Like I've always wanted to play a Daughters of Cain army, but I also don't want to paint 90 Murder Elves.
Right.
Like that seems like something I don't want to do.
Right.
So, but like painting 11 of them or whatever, or whatever there's here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, it's 11 models. Like,
Yep.
sure.
Yeah. Well, I know that like the previous edition before, so the first edition of Warcry, they did release ways to play all of the other factions.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess you're right. I don't have I don't have a problem at all with bringing in the other factions, because it doesn't have to be. It's a system. We're talking about a game system. Game system doesn't exclusively have to sit in that one place at the Baron Spire. It could be anywhere in the. It's just a way to play it. But yeah, I can totally see that some of those forces, because they weren't built for Warcry.
Right. That was like we ran a Warcry tournament. Like, this has got to be like 2 or 3 years ago. We ran it, and it was after they added the amendment to allow they made rules for everybody else.
Yep.
So it was like, I'm playing this original gang, 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 and then some guy was like, I'm playing the Idneth Deepkin, and it was like, okay, cool. He's like, so I took the guy riding the eels.
Yep.
And it was like, oh, cool. He's like, so my whole army flies. And you were like, oh, well, that should be okay. And then every game he played, he won, because he just zipped around and took all the objectives.
Yep.
And it was like, well, my stuff doesn't fly? And it was like, cool, I guess I win then. And I was like, oh, man. Yep. So, yeah, it definitely was one of those things where I don't think that, because, like you said, because they weren't built for the game, I think that there was definitely like an upset in like the sort of not the power level, but like the sort of the rule structure. So
yeah,
but it is a really fun game, and it seems like Heart of Gur is like tightened some of that stuff up.
Cool.
Because he's in here, he's got the girl on the left is one of the Kinnerai, like the flying harpy wing ones.
Right. Yep. Okay. Moving, just looking at the time, probably should start moving along here. Next up, we've got some more of that game that nobody plays. Malifaux.
I was going to say, sure.
So this is from my buddy Nick Fletcher in Australia. He's been a Malifaux fan for a long time, but yeah, they look great, don't they?
Awesome.
Yep. Nick does some awesome stuff. He works for Aetherworks down in Australia.
Nice. Yeah, I love that. That cool color palette is awesome.
Yep. Definitely good stuff there. Next up, we have, I'm going to say Pear. Yeah. There's an accent where I was not expecting it. Yeah. But let's go with Pear Dark Vernon. We've got 3 from Pear. So the first one is some Burrows and Badgers. I'm not sure if you've heard of Burrows and Badgers before, but anybody who's paid any attention to On Tabletop will know that Ben Shaw from On Tabletop is a huge fan of Burrows and Badgers. Done by Oathsworn, I think, is the company that makes these.
Those are cool.
But it's all anthropomorphic animals. It's very much like Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
Yeah, I dig it.
In the Willows kind of thing, everybody come to life. But yeah, there's loads of fantastic miniatures, loads of great character in there. And I think these are, what do you call it? My mind's gone blank. These are, it's probably like 5 or 6 models to a warband, a group.
This could be what those toads were from.
I don't think so.
Because the bases are similar.
Sure. I don't think it is, though. Could be wrong.
You're probably right.
I'll have to check.
What else? Those are cool, though.
They are very nice. Also... Oh, look! Some more Malifaux. but these guys look absolutely awesome. It's that Wild West aesthetic, I think, that I really enjoy from this.
I think again, like I said, they're great models. I'm not knocking anything about it. I think it's cool. I just, like I said, I don't know anybody who plays.
Yeah. No, absolutely awesome. These look fantastic. And I love that the Hanged Man in the background. That's also like a playable model.
Nice.
And finally from Pear, or P, this is a Stargrave.
Stargrave is dope.
Stargrave is super cool. I played a couple of games of this. I remember one game I played against Jeff Hall, mutual friend of ours, and I used my Gene Steel Cult models, put my my gang together, my warband together, my crew, I guess, and Jeff used a whole bunch of Star Wars minis. Star Wars Legion minis, and it was very cool. I've played a bunch of Frostgrave. Frostgrave's quite swingy with the D20 rolls. Stargrave, you can still get a bit of that, but I don't think it's quite as swingy as Frostgrave.
I think that's why they did it. I think they were trying to like flatten that out a little bit. But...
Yeah, it was a nice evolution from it. But definitely cool.
Especially with all the shooting. Like there had to be a way to get rid of that.
Yep.
You're like, cool, I wipe out everything you have on the first turn. You're like, wait, what?
Yep. But no, I think this crew looks fantastic as well.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Yeah. Definitely nice. So thank you very much for that. Next up. This is from Pimp My Minis. Kill Team Orc Warband, the Commandos.
I'm on a delay, so oh, there we go.
Yeah. Yep.
Dude, they look great.
They do, don't they? Look absolutely.
I love the bomb squig. The bomb squig is the best.
It is awesome. It's always been great. It's just that classic, just that little hint of humor.
Yeah, it's like this insane little ball of teeth that has like dynamite strapped to him. Like it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
He did an awesome job with the guy with the flamethrower's mask too. He did the classic like skull with the flame jaws.
Yeah. No, it does look looks awesome.
This whole box is just awesome. The Kill Team box, when they first released Kill Team, when it was them and the guardsmen,
yep,
like those models are just amazing.
Yeah, they do look absolutely super cool. We have 5 more photos left.
All right, what's next? Yeah, the colors on these are great too. Like he's got lots of stripes and some cool metal effects. Yeah, this is a very, very nicely painted unit.
Yep. Next up, we have a Frostgrave warband from someone in the chat. It may actually be from you, Jake, in your alter ego, Scott.
Nice.
So yeah, Scott's done these up. I'm going to guess, were these originally Redbox Games minis, Scott? They have that.
Yeah, he posted the other day in the Facebook page, and I commented on like they look awesome. Yep. His red is super cool. He does a really good job with like very subtle source lighting.
Yep.
Which I like. And like the body camo on Conan is just great.
Yep. I think it looks awesome. I think definitely done a great job there, Scott.
They have a very like Kislavite look to them.
They do. It's got that. You've got that sort of witch queen up at the front there. That kind of feel. But yeah, nice work, Scott. Yep. Yeah, Redbox Games, Trey Manor, the sworn enemy of spelling. Fantastic. And also some minis that Scott has put together for This Is Not a Test. So again, friend of the show, Joseph Maguire, has written This Is Not a Test. Fantastic post-apocalyptic game with a strong homage to many of his favorite games and settings. So Fallout, the Fallout setting, Mordheim, Necromunda, that kind of feel. But yeah, typically it's a warband of usually around 10 minis, 9, 10, 11 minis. If you take somebody in power armor here, you'll sort of cut back on that. But with when we were talking before about Secrets of the Third Reich and Incursion, his Captain America here is from one of those games.
Yeah, that's awesome. Is this a miniatures agnostic system?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Joey has a bunch of miniatures that he sells, but yeah, you're quite welcome to pick up a whole bunch of minis elsewhere. So, World's End Publishing is Joey's company. So if you check out worldsendpublishing.com, you will find his minis. Brigade Games out of New Jersey do a great set of apocalyptic minis, post-apocalyptic minis, sorry, which are good choices.
Yeah, these are great.
But yeah, definitely great looking minis and beautifully painted, Scott. They look awesome. Next up, we have... Oh, here we go. Tim Felton. Tim posted a whole bunch of his Lord of the Rings. And they look awesome, Tim. Very nicely done.
Nice.
Yep.
This is so small on my screen. All right, so I see Gandalf mounted on foot. It's like a bunch of the dwarf, like the Hearthguard, the guys with the spears.
Yep.
And then I see some men of Gondor. I see a cave. They have a cave troll.
They do have a cave troll. Tim has a little bit of everything.
Yeah, the Goblin King.
Has a Nazgul.
Yeah, the Nazgul on the Drake thing. That's awesome.
Is it the Fell Beast?
Yeah, Fell Beast.
Yeah. There we go. Scott says the Grindhouse Games ape was the power armor. Yep.
Nice.
Very cool. But yeah, Tim, nice stuff.
Tim, I'm assuming that Tim is probably stoked for the new series, the
Rings of Power.
Power. That looks amazing. I can't wait for that.
Yeah, could be. I'm excited. I only have about 250 miles to go in my walk to Mordor.
You should just jumped on the giant eagles, man. That's what I did.
And getting the giant eagles home is the way that.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah,
just one way.
Just one way. It's much cheaper.
Cool. What do we got next?
Round trip is terrible. Next up, we have. Sorry. Let me make sure I get this right. We have Turin Buckley with some Mordheim.
Sweet.
Cool.
Is it a million slingers?
No, it's a bit of a mix.
Is it the Carnival of Chaos?
No, it's not. It's not. It's like a Marienburger force, I think. Or is this Ostermark?
Yeah.
Purple and yellow. I think purple and yellow might be Ostermark. But yeah, he's got a good mix in there. He's got. I
see a great sword.
Yep. High
great
blade.
sword.
Yeah. He's got.
He's got 2 great swords. He's got some militia. He's got a swordsman.
He's got a crossbowman. Yep. There's a tasty mix. He's got a slayer at the back there as well.
Yeah, dude.
But
Mordheim was always fun. That's a fun game.
Yep. This is Mordheim.
Rules are online.
What's that? Yeah.
David's like, how's this Mordheim? Like, you can still play it. It's it's super easy to do.
Yep. This photo is from. I don't even know if it's actually Turin painted these guys, but basically this is from a campaign weekend that he did at a local store recently.
Nice.
I think he said he had like 12 or 16 people playing.
Yeah, there's a guy at my work trying to organize a Mordheim event.
Yep. No, it's definitely super cool. Great to see. And finally, one more. These are from. Let me make sure I get it right. Okay. And a nice little, slightly more historical bent on Skirmish Gaming. These are from William Adcock, who painted these up, and these are painted up for A Fistful of Lead. So more sort of pulp.
Do not know that game, but
it's a pulp game. So this is one that you'd find you'd be able to buy at Historicon or Fall In or any of the historical gaming conventions.
Nice.
But yeah, definitely
good paint jobs.
Yeah, definitely neat. They've got that very what's the term? I'm having a terrible night tonight. But Back of Beyond kind of range.
Okay.
So yeah, you'd probably find these adventuring in Siberia or above the Arctic Circle. There we go. Scott has played Fistful of Lead. Says it's super fun. But yeah, I think that's something that we're seeing as well. There is an increasing number of historical skirmish games, or historically inspired skirmish games, at least. A couple that tread that sort of fantasy line are Dracula's America, which I'll be playing tomorrow night. I don't have a posse for it. I'm borrowing a posse, but yeah, our gaming group is doing a whole bunch of Dracula's America.
I think part of the reason that skirmish games tend to do well in that sector is like if you and I wrote up a rule set.
Yep.
It's way easier to make rules for a skirmish game because like we don't have a whole miniature line or anything. Like it's like, oh hey, yeah, you can buy whatever. Like there's a ton of stuff that does well, and there's so many different variations of historical adjacent that I think that's why it's so easy to do that stuff. You're like, oh, you're fighting monsters, or there's aliens invaded, or it's the 50s, or it's Fallout, or you know what I mean? Like it's all like just off.
Yep.
But
you don't have to be totally your historical models don't have to be totally historically accurate in the way that they operate on the table. But yeah, that's definitely good. Silver Bayonet is another one that I'd be very interested in trying out. That's one where it's the Napoleonic Wars. You play a sort of a band of warriors that have been put together for a specific task, and usually that task might be to go out and kill a vampire that is raiding that is picking off your supply lines, or take out some werewolves, or fight against another monster, and there's also your opponent's warband that you're fighting against.
Okay.
So it's you got a little bit of that Frostgrave element to it, but I think it would it's definitely super cool. I'm a big fan of the Napoleonic period, so I'm excited about trying that out.
I love skirmish games. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with the new War Machine, because somebody was telling me that it is scalable again. Okay. So you can play it skirmish size. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll give that a try. Who knows? But I think the big one for me is like I was trying to think of games that are skirmish scale, and the ones that I still play would be like Aeronautica Imperialis.
Right.
I love that game. It's super fun. I mean, technically, I guess you'd consider Titanicus a skirmish game.
Oh yeah. Well, if we're talking about those other mech games being skirmish games, for sure.
I mean, it's still super long. It's not really like it's any faster.
Well, I guess that's one of those things we didn't clearly define what we meant by skirmish games earlier in the conversation, did we?
Well, I think for most people, I think skirmish games are like typically smaller scale,
smaller number of models.
Yeah. So I think that would, like, if we're using that as our sort of, that's the
criteria, the main criteria.
Yeah. If that's the main criteria, then yeah, I guess Titanicus you would count as that. But yeah, like Kill Team, Titanicus, Aeronautica Imperialis, those are like the big ones. But I mean, it sounds like you play a lot more skirmish games than I do. Like you've played a lot of them.
We've played a bunch of stuff. with my gaming group, we meet every other Wednesday, typically, and the idea is we'll pick a game, we'll play that game for 3 months, and then we'll pick another game, and we'll play that game for 2 months. Then we'll pick another game we'll play for 3 months, and because we're going through that sort of at that sort of pace, it's like, okay, well, we'll give them a month in advance. We'll pick the next one, so it gives people time to paint up their warband or get their stuff together. So,
Right.
Originally, we were playing Warcry, and sort of partway through Warcry, it was, okay, we're going to do Saga Age of Magic. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do all my Saga Age of Magic models are all going to be Warcry models. And then I was like, okay, fantastic. I can build up a good collection of Warcry models and do a Slaves to Darkness army and play Saga Age of Magic. So,
Right on.
I think there are some skirmish games that will lend themselves to being able to dip into your existing collection or help you build another collection to play a bunch of other games. So,
Would you consider something like what is it called? Would you consider Shadespire a skirmish game?
I think probably, yeah. It's an odd one because there's the card element there, and it's played on a board. But where do we leave Space Hulk? So it's kind of a tough one. But it's another really fun game. It's really fun. It's the same concept though. It's a smaller number of models. It's a faster gameplay.
Warbands are like six models, 7 models. That's models, the big one.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah.
All right. Well, listen. Also, do you want to give the spiel? You want to?
Well, we're going to decide what are we going to talk about next week. I think we've decided. I think we've come to the conclusion that there are a lot of fantastic skirmish games. People should get out and try them, even if there's nobody in your area playing them. LFO. No,
I told you there's 2 guys. There's 2 guys.
Find those guys again. Find them. Reach out to them. But yeah, and also that Jake needs to play a little bit more Lord of the Rings. Sounds good.
Look, I'm happy to play whatever. My list that I used to have was Prince Imrahil and 10 Knights of Dol Amroth.
Right. There we go.
That was my army.
No wonder you thought that it was broken.
It was great. I think I only lost like 2 games the entire time I had that list.
Fantastic. Well, what are we going to talk about next week then? What should we look at?
I have no idea. We could do...
Should we talk about some painting?
Yeah, sure.
Let's talk about...
Maybe building some stuff.
You want building stuff? Now that we've talked about playing?
Yeah. It all fits in. I like it. On brand.
Okay.
Want to do like since we talked about space, I want to do like cool board game minis because there's a ton of good ones.
Okay.
There are so many board games that have awesome minis now. Like you've got like Descent and like Bard Sung is one of my favorites. Like I'll talk about that next week for sure. Yeah, there's so many cool minis now.
Horizon Zero Dawn. I'd quite comfortably take some shades of, like some Warhammer Underworlds or some Space Hulk models.
Yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah.
You could do.
Yep. Scott is suggesting build something.
Game you don't play yet but want to. No, I'm not yet. I have to pile through the stuff that I want to play, like my Heresy Army.
Right. Okay. So yeah, let's.
But I like that. We'll save that one for like the winter when everybody's stuck at home and you can't do anything.
Yep. Or the following week, something like that.
Sure.
Yep.
Sure.
Okay, but we'll do board game minis next week. So we'll put up a post and invite people to post some pictures of their favorite board game minis, painted or not. But yeah, we just talk about that sort of thing and cool sculpts. Yeah.
Yep. Someone wants to show some painted Battlemaster stuff.
Right. Yeah. Sure. I'll drag that back around. But no, none of that was painted. But anyway, so it's 8:43. I think we're gonna have to change the time, change it to say like 7 till 9. But thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. It was very cool to have you in here. I'm glad that the video was not choppy and that our audio was much improved. Means that we're going to have Dan back on as a guest in the future.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we'll talk about some, probably talk about some specific painting techniques that we'll jump into. But Night, Dave. We will be safe and will be good times. But yes, thank you everybody for joining us for this episode of Build, Paint, Play. I'm Dave.
I'm Oz.
And we'll see you later.
Thanks everybody.
Bye. I didn't have it. I did this last week as well. I didn't have it all prepped. Here we go.
Shut up.
You didn't do your pitch.
I didn't.
Shut up and sit down.